got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed,
you just remember what your old past said. Boy, you got a friend in me.
yeah, you've got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me.
If you got troubles,
I got them too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you.
if we stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you got a friend in me.
Yeah, you got a friend in me. Some of the folks might be a little bit smarter than I am,
Bigger and stronger too,
baby.
but none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy.
And as the years go by,
Our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny.
you got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah, you got a friend in me.
So, do I know Bob Grimes? Bob Grimes, of course I know Bob Grimes. Bob and I have known each other, well, let me see if I can give you some perspective. Remember, there was a time when there was operator-assisted phone calls, and then there was the rotary dial phone calls, and then there was the push button. Somewhere in that time zone, that's when I got to know Bob. So it's been a long time. I call it BL, before Linda.
Bob and I got out of law school, and I had a brief stint with a civil firm, and then Bob and I got together actually full-time in 1974, and we've been together ever since.
So I met Bob, I'm going to say it was as far back as 1974, 1975. Bob was friends of one of my former partners, God rest his soul, Ernie Weidman, and Ernie introduced me to Bob. And I will say that since that time, since the time I first met Bob until today, we've remained very good and close friends and shared many experiences over the years.
Well, I've known Bob since before he was married. I knew him when he met his wife, Linda, a beautiful person and a lawyer in her own right. I was there when both of his children were born, and Bob was the quintessential father. He spent every moment he could with both of his children. And if you look at it, David, his son, is now an entrepreneur on his own, in the sense that he owns a couple of restaurants and is doing quite well for himself. And his daughter, Dana, practices law with Bob, and she has recently been the trial lawyer of the year, as president of trial lawyers, and is, I don't want to say a chip off the old block. I think she's actually an improvement on the old block, and I think you'll be hearing great things from her as years come and years go, and probably she'll be getting this award someday too.
Bob has this phenomenal capacity to remember people in trials. I watched him once just in part of the trial, and he was doing voir dire, and he never had a piece of paper in his hand. He never had a note that he referred to, yet he remembered everyone's names and everything about him. Unbelievable.
Bob married a little bit over his head, his beautiful wife, Linda, and Bob always been a family guy. Very proud of his daughter Dana, the lawyer, and his son David.
Most people don't know this, but Bob was admitted to Yale coming out of high school, and he was such an outdoorsman that he decided to go to Willamette because he enjoyed being outdoors, and Willamette offered a much more rugged environment. He lasted a couple of years there, and then he went to San Diego State. But the gray matter was always there. Bob was always a very, very smart man, and had a great deal of ability to dissect a case and make it understandable to 12 people.
He's such a great guy. You cannot like him. I mean, you can't not like him, let's put it that way.
Bob was always collegial. He's always professional. He's always civil.
And he's done so many great things for people. He is a lawyer's lawyer. He's the consummate professional. I mean, he's the kind of guy, if you had a problem, the first person you call. The first person you call, and he will respond immediately.
Bob exemplifies all of the things that I think Dan Broderick stood for, and I think he epitomizes all the things that this award stands for.
How could you get mad at Bob Grimes? It's impossible.
I'll tell you another quirky story, interesting story about Bob that many of you may not know. Back in the 70s and the 80s, as we were younger lawyers, but maturing somewhat, we'd been through a couple of real estate booms and busts and whatever, and I remember talking to Bob about the economy and investments and stuff, and Bob told me that his answer was he had gone out and bought some gold. He had bought some gold coins, and he had actually put them in a coffee can, and he buried them in his backyard. So when the uprising occurred, when the economy went to hell and the villagers stormed our homes, Bob had a plan. So I guess I would say if you live near Bob now and you have an opportunity, you might want to kind of forage around in his backyard, because you never know what you might find.
Wow. Does Bob Grimes deserve the Red Boudreau Award? Actually, I don't have anything to do with the award, but I'm going to say Bob probably could have been the first recipient.
This Broderick Award, if you look at it, you talk about it, and it's talks about three things. It talks about professionalism, it talks about integrity, and it talks about civility, PIC. Well, Bob is picked to be all those things. He's picked to be professional. His integrity is above reproach, and his civility is that of a person like Mother Teresa. So if there's anybody that was deserving of this award, Bob is.
A lot of defense lawyers are vilified by the public because of their representation of certain people. Never happens with Bob. They always go, yeah, he did a good job, and he did what he was supposed to do.
Soy el jefe de jefes, señores.